I guess when it's all said and done, Bengals were right to take Chase instead of Penei Sewell. That was something we were talking about at length in Cleveland last year.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I've got plenty of them wrong. We could spend hours and hours going over that, but that one was one we had talked about, and I think we were right on in terms of that he's just such a special player and take the best available player. And then that draft was pretty deep in the offensive line. Now, I don't know if they necessarily picked the right offensive lineman with that second-round pick in Jackson Carman, but the theory is right. And, man, that kid he's unbelievable. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And you go back and look at that. I went back and, you kind of look at that previous game they had against the Chiefs. What do you have? I think he had 260-something yards against them. So we'll see that rematch. And the last image I have of the Chiefs' pass defense is Gabriel Davis parking Hughes on his backside without touching him. So that's going to be a fascinating game. If the Bengals' pass protection, which was awful and has been awful for a little while now, if they can hold up, Burrow has another big game. But, man, that game is going to be decided solely on that offensive line, how they play, to give him time to get the ball to Chase, because they can't cover those wide receivers if Burrow has a little time.
Why is Burrow this good so quickly, do you think?
I think he, you talk about three keys in quarterbacks with, poise, accuracy, decision making. I think he's off the charts in those three areas. And I don't know that I've seen, I'm racking my brain trying to think of one. You can say, okay, you've seen more talented quarterback in the NFL. I don't think I've ever seen a more confident quarterback. At this age, it's unbelievable the amount of confidence this kid plays with.
You're not talking about his glasses choice after the game either, right?
Bold choice, Cotton, but I'm okay with that. I mean, that kind of speaks to that.
Yeah, and it is a thought here that I have, and I will ask it, even though this is kind of sports talk radio, but we're on it right now, that this weekend showed, certainly with Stafford doing something that the Rams were hoping he could do, and boy, has he done it, right? And we saw Mahomes and Allen go at it, and Jimmy G did win a playoff game, even though he didn't have an offensive touchdown, beating the maybe MVP of the league. But that Burrow's performance showed as well that you need to have somebody very special at quarterback to not only win now, but for a sustained amount of time. Is Tannehill the right guy in Tennessee? Do you think they're going to make some choices on that front in Tennessee this year?
I think there's a lot of guys that don't necessarily pass the confetti test, Rich, where I can't envision the confetti falling on their shoulders. I've kind of said, what we've been saying for a while now, for the last month or so on our podcast. I said, look, you need, with the collection of stud quarterbacks we have in the league right now, you got to have one to have a chance. Or it's either, there's one caveat. You can have Kyle Shanahan as your play caller with, Hall of Fame left tackle, Hall of Fame tight end, one of the best receivers in the NFL, potentially Hall of Fame defensive end, Hall of Fame linebacker. I mean, if you don't have a roster that good and you have Kyle Shanahan calling plays, then maybe that's the exception. But outside of that, you've got to have one of those dudes. That's why I think this was like a temperature check for the rest of the league, particularly the AFC. And if you went to bed after that game last night and you weren't the general manager of those two teams that played, or if you weren't in Cincinnati, or if you weren't Tom Telesco with Justin Herbert, man, I don't know that you slept very well.
I love it. Are there any kids this year that have that ability? What do you think? Or this is not the year for it?
No, I don't think so. But one of the things is you watch that, and I'm sitting here going, okay, I've got a long time to sort all these guys out. But Malik Willis from Liberty is a kid who is really, really, really raw. Didn't have a lot around him, and you can find some real, some bad tape late in the year, and you can kind of be a little bit down on him. And then you watch these games, and you're like, but I don't know, man. This he is a great athlete. He has got a huge arm. He kind of flashes some of those plays. There's a risk involved, no doubt, but man, at least you've got the hope. You can dream on what he can be. I think that's going to help him through the draft process.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.